Hey guys, what's up? It's Joe Raiti from Raiti's Rides. I'm here at a special location deep within LA, and guess what? We have that car from that iconic Japanese brand that you have been yearning for. It's this vehicle right here. This is it. This is a 2026 all new return of the big name, the Honda Prelude. But before we get into this Boost Blue sports style car, let's talk about what's going on here. So the Prelude, very important name to Honda. If you go back to the 1970s, that was the birth of the Prelude. It actually first was unveiled in Japan in 1978. Then it met our shores here in 1979. Now the fascinating thing is we are on generation 6 of the mighty Prelude, and we haven't had a Honda Prelude in the lineup since 2001. So if you do the math, this is the 25th anniversary of this iconic nameplate, and what better way to celebrate than to actually bring the car back into production. Now, for the first few years, you had your three choices of Honda vehicles. You had your Civic, you had your Accord, and then of course, you had the Prelude. Each one of them very specific on what they were trying to deliver to the buying public. Well, guess what? With this 6th gen version, it's the same story. It's all about bringing a unique driving experience, but also showcasing, of course, innovative technology. Because if you look at the Prelude lineup since day one, there have been major milestones in each generation when it comes to technology or automotive innovations which were taking place. Now, what's fascinating is I was really scratching my head trying to figure out what would this compete with? And it looks like Honda has found a sweet spot in the auto market to where it's going to provide a unique, sporty GT driving experience with that great communication that Honda always delivers in their vehicles, but also with hybrid technology and a lot of other new innovations. So why don't we go ahead, why don't we dive into this 2026 Prelude and see, is this gonna be car of the year for 2026? Let's go ahead, let's dive in and find out. Right off the bat, you know the color, you've seen it on other Honda vehicles. It is Boost Blue, and this is one of the color options that you have in their palette, and Boost Blue is a no-brainer. I knew for sure that when they had the Prelude ready to rock and roll like we have here, they were gonna bring that color. But there are other colors, including another new color called Winter's Frost, which is behind me over my right shoulder, which, guess what, we will be bringing a review of that one as well. Now, at the front of the business, the thing that's gonna blow your mind, which is blowing my mind, is this looks almost identical to the concept vehicle, the prototype that we brought you when we were at the mobility show in Japan. So nice to see a brand actually showcase a concept and follow through with the design to where you know exactly where it came from. So at the front of the business, they really want to focus on a jet fighter style with this new Prelude. And you can see that automatically in the headlight housing design. You're gonna have your LED daytime running lamps with your LED turn signals. Love the way that they have those LED headlights nestled in there. And very, very interesting how, like I said, with the prototype that we showed you a few years ago, you have the lighting up top. Where the difference is gonna be, there's no lighting in the center. And I'm glad that they did this. The reason why is, this is not a pure EV. This is a hybrid GT sports style car. So I feel without having that lighting there, it doesn't confuse anybody into thinking that it's a full EV. This has, like I said, that internal combustion engine underneath the hood with the electric motors, which we'll talk more about that when we pop the hood. Everything, that beautiful body color, that blue kind of just water falling down. You'll notice the gloss black along the lower nose area, and then of course that flared fender. Now, one thing I can't show you because I forgot my X-ray glasses at home is that underneath the sheet metal and this beautiful front end is the dual access suspension setup from the Honda Civic Type R. So one of the things with this car is it's not meant to be a Type R. This is not a Prelude Type R, but taking that technology from the Type R, the Civic Type R, they've sprinkled it throughout this whole Prelude to give you a very sporty, very livable driving experience. Now, as we come across the front, it really highlights, like I said, that jet fighter look. You have that iconic Honda badge, nicely flush mounted on the top of the nose, and then you have a little bit of this gloss black area. It is functional, so it does also have that purpose and looks fantastic. And then working our way down, just like with the Concept, look at that nice beefy front splitter, all integrated into that lower grille area. And then we even have that Prelude style blue there to signify that this is a hybrid vehicle. And like we showed you when we went on throttle in the Civic Hybrid Sedan and the Civic Hybrid Hatchback, that instant torque from the 2 electric motors really gets you off the line. And this also has something else that we'll talk about when it comes to the way that the transmission is going to simulate certain things. But like I said, we'll talk about that in a second. But let me know what you think about the face of this Prelude. Nice and wide, properly angled, and with the Boost Blue, I think this would be my color of choice. Now, as we rise up, I love the sleek bend into the windshield, and then everything else kind of angles off. One of the body lines, which I think is smart, instead of having a smooth curved portion to the top of the hood where the fender is, you actually get a hard, crisp line. I think that's going to be perfect for when you're behind the wheel. It's going to give you 2 good visual reference points of where those front fenders are, so that as you're enjoying your favorite twisty road, you can be able to have confidence of hitting your marks as you're going down that road. As we come around the bend, what are we working with? Wheel and tire setup. So what you're going to find are these 19-inch beautiful black wheels. Very nice design. It's almost like a Trident setup with the way that they did the spokes. And what's nice is that there's not a lot of guesswork when it comes to optioning your Prelude. These are the wheels that it comes with. Now, you do have the option to put these Continental Extreme Contact tires. It's more of a performance, kind of on that edge of the performance summer tire. Nice to have that to give you that grip, give you that stick, but these aren't too sticky to where they're not going to wear out too fast on you. Now, one of the other things, besides the dual access front suspension that's taken from the Type R, is check it out. You're going to have those Brembo calipers. Now, I love the way that they did it in that Prelude blue with the Prelude script name in the white on the caliper itself. You're going to get the 2-piece rotors, just like the Type R. And remember, the whole purpose of a 2-piece rotor is that helps cut down on heat buildup. And that shows the intention of this vehicle. Even though this isn't an all-out Type R high-performance Prelude, there is plenty of performance to be had, and that's the showing right there. The telling is what they're bringing and showing us with the bigger brakes. 13.8-inch rotors up front, and then of course you're going to have the 13-inch rotors out back, but nice to see that directly from the Type R. And I think that, like I said, shows the intention. Now, if you're wondering, well, Joe, what's the size of the tire? 235 on the width, 40 series sidewall, and of course, just like the Civics, just like the Accord, this is front wheel drive, but like I said, having that suspension off the Type R, it's going to show you that they're able to get the power to the ground. Now, coming down the rest of the vehicle, you have your Boost Blue on your mirror caps, those slim and trim LED turn signals. One of my favorite parts about the styling is I'm going to have Lori kind of swing around and show you that nice side fender vent there, especially the way that they actually did the indentation into the door panel all the way towards the flaring out of the rear fender. And then just like up front on the splitter, you have the side skirt extension that's all there for aerodynamic efficiency to help generate the air, control the air down the side of the vehicle. Another thing that's really cool to see for the first time on a Honda are flush mounted door handles. And the way it will work is if you have the key on you, you walk up to the vehicle, it will actually pop up and allow you to enter the vehicle. So nice to have for the first time, looks spectacular. And like I said, this makes it look a lot like that concept version of the Prelude by having the flush mounted door handles. Now, one of the things that I really want to stress about this Prelude is don't think of it as a Civic. This is not, no, this is not a Civic body or anything like that. This is a unique setup to it, especially when you look at the roof line. So talking about that jet fighter design, that roof line, how it waterfalls down into the rear glass, super sleek. You'll notice that this has a double bubble style roof. So you actually have a rise over the driver and then a rise over the passenger side with that center portion that is lower. Another thing that's gonna be an option, remember how I told you there's really not a lot of options, which I think is a good thing, but there's some important ones. One of them being the tires. Another one is gonna be you'll be able to get sort of a two-tone. So you'll be able to get a black painted roof. When we say the black painted roof, we're talking about in between that body line here on the driver's side, and then the same thing on the passenger side will be painted black, and then you would also get black mirror caps as well. That's one of the other options. Working towards the rear, I love the way they did a nice large triangle on that rear quarter glass, because the great news about the Prelude is that it has seats in the rear of the vehicle. One of the things that may surprise you is that this is the first Prelude that is a hatchback. So it's that sportback, hatchback, liftback design rather than just having a standard trunk. And that's gonna help not only give you a nice sexy appearance, but wait until we show you how much cargo capacity is in this. Now, as we work our way down, we notice with the rears, you do still get the blue on the calipers. So it's nice that they didn't just leave those silver or gray or black. They did the calipers all four corners to at least match in color. And then coming around the rear, just like up front with those flared fenders, I love the way they flare the rear fender. Right off that quarter panel into the rear bumper, full LED lighting on the back. So no Thomas Edison light bulbs, you have all LED lighting, tail lights, turn signals, and I love the way it kind of extends from driver's side to passenger side. Another cool touch, and I'm glad that they're doing this, first seen on the Honda Prologue, I really love the way they're spelling out the Honda name. It just has a nice classic but modern look all at the same time, and then we can't forget Prelude. And if you don't know what that is, that's cursive writing. I know they're not really teaching that anymore in school, but that says Prelude, I promise. Ask your teacher to teach you cursive, and maybe you could write like that someday. Now, working our way down to ground level, you'll notice how they really did a good job with, it's almost like a 50-50 split between the blue, the body color, and then the gloss black on the lower portion. Really makes the rear end not look too heavy, plus it just has a nice flow to everything, especially with this having that rear lift back. And then on the bottom portion, just like up front, we have the blue designating this not only as the Prelude, but also, of course, as a hybrid vehicle, but very, very uniquely styled, especially if you park this next to any Civic. But why don't we go ahead, let's pop the hood and talk about what the heck is powering this Prelude. All right, guys, we got the hood popped. Underneath the hood is gonna be a familiar sight, but I don't think that's necessarily gonna be a bad thing, because wait until you see what we have. It's that tried and true 2-liter inline four. It's that new hybrid system paired with 2 electric motors and that direct drive transmission. Now, one of the things that separates this from the Civic hybrids is something that I can't wait to experience once we drive the vehicle. It's that Honda Shift Plus system. On the interior, there is a separate button for this, and what it does is it allows the vehicle to give you the experience of going through gears, even to the point where on downshifts, it blips the throttle. Like I said, this is new technology, the first Honda to have this system, and that's one of the innovations. Remember I told you at the start of the video, innovations that they're bringing with the Prelude, and this is something that I can't wait to experience. Now, there's no hard numbers yet on actual performance, but when you look underneath and you see that you're still gonna have, like I said, with the dual motors, that 200 horsepower, 232 pound-feet of torque, with the electric motors off the line, you're gonna have that initial instant torque. And that's what's gonna give you a very unique driving experience. And then plus, with having the different modes, one of them being that Sport Plus, the S Plus, but then also there's other modes, including GT. Now, another part that's taken from the Type R are the adaptive dampers. Now, what's great about what Honda did, they didn't just pluck any of these systems and throw it on the Prelude. They took it from the Type R, but then they programmed them, the different modes for the dampers, to give you a unique driving experience specific to the Prelude. And one of those modes is GT, which, if you know your Honda Civic Type R like I do, there isn't a GT mode on the Honda Civic Type R. So that's another area where I can't wait to get behind the wheel to show you how these different modes affect the driving experience. But why don't we go ahead? It's that time. Let's get to the interior and see what's new and fresh in this 2026 Prelude. All right, guys, we're inside this 2026 Honda Prelude. I know you're saying to yourself, well, Joe, I want one of these and I want it now. How much is it? No official pricing yet, but expect to see these hit dealers later this year, beginning of 2026. That's why it's a 2026 model year vehicle. But it's going to be fascinating to see where the price point for this falls, because as you're about to see, there are some unique high-end finishes in this Prelude you're not going to find in an Accord or the Civic. But let's see what they're bringing for this new car. To the door panels, I love the soft touch material. You got the black, really clean style with the contrast stitching. No gloss black around the switch gears, so you don't have to worry about fingerprints. And then you'll notice the contrast stitching on the armrest. It's blue with that silverish white. Really pops nicely with the standard black interior. Door pocket is a decent size, maybe a double from In-N-Out Burger and a small Coke, and that's about it. Now, going from the door panel to the dash, we got the Bose premium sound system, the soft touch. Love the way they brought into the Prelude that wire mesh finish with the AC vents. Alcantara style material with the two-tone and the Prelude name embroidered. And then slide on in, you're gonna get that easy to use, familiar 9-inch infotainment system. It's got the full Google suite of apps and maps, Amazon Alexa, wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto. You got a real deal volume knob, which is fantastic. And then very easy on the touchscreen. I mean, it's all the familiar stuff that you're used to, including a power flow gauge, because we do have that hybrid setup. Now, working our way down, you got your bright red illuminated start-stop button, power on. And then you're gonna have, of course, your dual climate control. Love the way they blacked out all of the knobs, and they have that lighting that kind of does a rim job right around the exterior of each of the knobs. 3 stages of heated seats, no ventilated seats. I wonder if that will be an option. I'm curious. Down below, 2 USB-Cs, a 12-volt and wireless charging, more stitching, more that Alcantara, and then this is the unique setup in the new Prelude. So you're gonna have your push button setup for your direct drive transmission. You're gonna have your drive modes as before, but now you have Sport Plus mode, which I'm just gonna point it out now, but I'm gonna show you more on our second video. So stay tuned for the second video with the white vehicle. You have your 2 large cup holders, the leather, and the stitching is right on needlepoint. This is where you could easily put, I would say, maybe 1.5 burritos from Chipotle. Depends on how much guac you ask them to put on it. Don't forget, guac is extra. The seats, the leather, the Prelude name embossed. These seats are specific to the Prelude. They even did a houndstooth design in the pattern to mimic the early Preludes. Stitching, manual controls for the passenger and the driver. So think of these sort of like a Recaro style seat, because normally Recaros are all manual control. One other thing that's interesting is that the bolstering on the passenger seat is different than the bolstering on the driver's seat. And they did that on purpose to be able to give you more bolstering being behind the wheel. But why don't you come over to this wheel, because it's all new in this Prelude. for 2026. Come on over. All right, guys, business time behind the wheel. This is where you want to be sitting inside this all-new Prelude. Now, what's great about it is that I'm 6 feet tall. Notice how much headroom I have. So they really wanted to make sure that even taller drivers could get behind the wheel to enjoy this Prelude. And where are you going to put your feet? Well, obviously on these aluminum pedals. So you get a nice aluminum brake pedal, aluminum throttle. I wish they would do an aluminum dead pedal, please. I'm going to have to zonk it. You got your manual seat controls for your seat height, the seat back, and then obviously sliding the seat forward or back. Once you set it, it's pretty much locked and loaded and you feel really good. Now on the driver's seat, it's the outer bolstering that's actually increased to help you in that lateral cornering. Because like I said, especially with those Continental Summer Performance tires, this thing with the battery pack being nice and low in the chassis because it's a hybrid, it's going to handle very, very well, especially because it's got parts from the Type R. Now, one thing that's not from the Type R that I wish I had in my Type R is the steering wheel. Flat bottom steering wheel, really nice style with the blue stitching all the way around, and you get a nice Alcantara stripe for top dead center. Flat black on the switch gear. You do have paddles. Now the paddles, depending on the mode that you're in, actually change function. They act as your regen braking, which you have up to 7 levels of regen braking. And then when you're in S Plus mode, that's when it actually works as simulated gears, an 8-speed simulated gear setup with the paddles. So they actually change their function depending on what mode you're in. And then of course you got that dash, nice 10.25-inch digital gauge cluster. You could put your power flow gauge in there, your range, all sorts of information inside. And what's neat is when you go into Sport Plus mode, which I'll show you on the other car, the charge meter becomes a tachometer, which that makes sense if you're going to be able to manually shift. But we're going to do it. I said I wasn't going to do it, but Lori's like, you need to do it. Latte Lori's like, you need to do it. We're going to get in the back seat and see just how usable it is in this Prelude. All right, guys, we're in the back seat. I promised I would do it of this Honda Prelude. Now, I'm going to show you what it's like. If I'm sitting with my back against the seat, there's not a lot of headroom, but this isn't meant to be a grand tour for 4 grown adults. This would be perfect to bring your kids along with you in that sort of driving experience to help, you know, kind of share the car enthusiasm with your kids. And that's what this is meant to be, is meant to be that daily driver where if you need to fit somebody in the back, it's doable. Do I love it? No. The one thing just to know is that there's no connectivity back here, no USBs, no 12 volts, and there's only 2 seats, not 3 across, it's 2. Underneath the seat is that lithium-ion battery pack, you can see with the venting here, for the hybrid system. But why don't we go ahead, I'm gonna get out of this back seat because I wanna show you the cargo area because that's gonna blow your mind in this Prelude. All right, guys, probably the thing that's gonna really blow your mind with this Prelude is just how usable it is. Because remember, that's the whole thing is that this car is meant to be that one car. If you had to have one car to be able to do it all, to have the looks, to have the fun driving experience, but also to have that usability. Now, real simple, right underneath the letter N in Honda, you're gonna hit the button and you'll notice that lift back design opens up and we have on display 3 good sized duffel bags to kind of showcase how much room there is. And I'm not surprised that there's a lot of room here because if you look at the Honda Civic hatchback especially, they really double down on space and make SUVs look kind of really sad with how much room they have. But you'll notice how the seats are very easy to fold down, that 60-40 split, and that's just gonna maximize your space even more. It's one of those cars that if you hate doing the grocery run, you probably are gonna wanna do it because you'll have a good time driving to the grocery store, but then you have plenty of room to put the groceries in the car to where it's not gonna give you a big headache. Now I know you wanna go for a drive. I wanna go for a drive too, especially I wanna go for a drive with learning about that S Plus operation with this Prelude. We're not there yet. The drive will be happening soon, but it was great to be here to be able to showcase for the first time what this 2026 Honda Prelude is all about. Definitely got to thank the whole Honda team for allowing us to have access to this car, to bring it to you. Now it's your turn. Let Honda and let me know in that comment section, what are your thoughts on the Prelude? Do you think that this is going to be that car to have for 2026? I'm very excited to see what you're going to say about it, but if you're new to the channel, you're on your way out, hit that subscribe button. I promise you it's worthwhile. Come back for more. If you are a subscriber, thank you for being part of the Raiders Rides family. Got to give it up to Latte Lori. She's making the magic happen here, and we got more to come, so stay tuned for the second review of the new Prelude. I'll give you a hint. It's that car right over my shoulder. Thank you, Lori, for all that you do, and just like always, guys, I'll see you on the next ride.